Have you ever wondered what life is like for a white person in prison? Did you ever watch American History X and think to yourself, that looks like an interesting documentary? Well, in Canada, prison is nothing like the movies. Hi, I'm Slava P. I spent 2.5 years in a federal facility, and I'm here to tell you my stories. Unlike what we see in movies, there are no race-based gangs working out in the yard together in Canadian jail. It's Canada at the end of the day, but that's not to say things have always been like this. I talked to one lifer in jail who told me that in his 23 years, he saw the facilities go from bikers to Muslims to a block based political system. That's where things are right now. If you go to Canadian prison right now, the block that you're from will dictate who you spend time with. There's also some separation amongst religions. Overall, the black population of jail does tend to stick together a lot more than the white one does. You'll have cases of preferential treatment anytime you have positions of power. And anytime you have positions of power, you're also inevitably going to have politics that come from that. That level of organization doesn't really occur amongst the white population in a prison. In Canada, you are wherever your ancestors come from. Vietnamese Canadian, Serbian Canadian, Greek Canadian, Jamaican Canadian, Somali Canadian. During my 2.5 years, I actually did meet a few guys who were skinheads and even one guy who had an SS tattoo on his face. Another reason that the white populations of Canadian prisons don't organize for any power is the fact that a lot of them are on drugs. Subaxone, methadone. There's a lineup every morning from the healthcare building in every jail. People in that line are predominantly one color, pale. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. Kick your addiction, feed your habit, whatever gets you through the day. The point is that it's just harder to organize them, whereas black people at least all come together for a common goal, and that is to fight their oppressor. You're in jail, the structures of power are pretty evident to you. There's two types of people in jail, inmates and guards. And the fact that most of those guards are white does breed a certain animus for the white populations in these jails. You also have to remember that even though the populations of the jails are more reflective of downtown Toronto, the institutions themselves are located in a pretty rural area of Ontario. The boonies, the sticks, bumblefuck Ontario, whatever you want to call it. They're in places like Kingston, Warkworth, and Gravenhurst. These locations are hours away from anything that could be described as multicultural. And the people that work at these facilities, they're people who live in those communities. The only time they've actually seen people of color is when they're at work, which is in jail. Now, systemically, I can tell you that as long as you follow the rules, everybody got treated more or less the same in jail. The optics are that white people get parole easier and they get cracked down on less. There is probably some truth to this. But also, everybody thinks that they should be getting preferential treatment. I talked to one guy who was born in Serbia. He claimed native status the second he got into an institution, all because he thought it would help him get out earlier. When you do get to your mother institution, you'll see groups develop around ethnicities. But this is done strategically. When you get money to buy groceries, it makes sense to pool your money and buy the type of food that you like to eat with other people. When I was in Kingston in the minimum, I heard that they had one house that was dedicated to all the Vietnamese inmates who made the most amazing food because they would split on groceries altogether. Separating people out into ethnic enclaves may sound a little bit backwards. You have to remember that not everybody wants their house to smell like fragrant spices first thing in the morning. The beauty of all these cultures grouping together is that there are interactions between them. Because jail is often pretty funny when you get used to it, you'll end up hearing some of the most amazing but racist jokes you'll ever hear in your life. How does every racist joke in prison start? So what's it like being white in federal jail in Canada? It's pretty much the same as being white anywhere else. I'm Slava P, and this has been a prison story. Like, subscribe, you know what to do.